fall photography in general is typically captured in color, with the leaves and the foliage being, I think, the main focus of the composition. Now, I love that too. I love the reds like the ones in front of me and the maples. I love the oranges and the yellows of the birches, but I also love, and what I think is most beautiful in my opinion, is the sky. Nothing beats a fall sky. Summer clouds are cool, but the fall just has that certain something that the other seasons can't touch. Today's October 14th. It's about a week since I've last been to Petobego Pond, which is where I'm heading now. It's a lovely area. There's swimming that can be had right across the way from the pond on one of the sections of East Grand Traverse Bay. Petobego Pond is not only beautiful, it's also recognized as an area of importance by the state of Michigan as an important wetland area for species and health of the waterways in this area. But of course, before I get to the pond, I need to head out through part of the Maple Bay natural area, one of the properties managed by the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy. Petobego Creek and the surrounding area has recently been acquired and has been extended as part of the Maple Bay Preserve. The trail system all links together, which makes it a really nice hike if you have an afternoon or a morning or whatever. Really good decision on my part to bring some hot spiced apple cider with me. Fortunately, I should have left my insulated mug warm before I put the liquid in, because the mug's ambient temperature cooled down the liquid, but it's still satisfying nonetheless. Anyway, as I said earlier, this pond or wetland, you could also call it a wetland, I suppose. There's also a marsh nearby by the same name, Petobego. This area is an important area in the state of Michigan for numerous reasons. As I mentioned, for water quality reasons, for wildlife habitat reasons. Anglers have reported catching northern pike here, smallmouth bass, brown trout, amongst other species. And bird watchers also flock to this area to watch geese, different pipers, there's swans, there's seagulls, of course, black crows, blue jays, pine siskins, I believe, and a pine warbler, if I'm not incorrect, are also spotted here. And of course, in the water there's also frogs, and that brings herons along. It's a really nice area for numerous uses. While it cannot be emphasized enough how precious and special this area is, it is of course great for photography, which is what I do. Today with me, of course, continuing on with my year of Kodak, I have a Kodak DX-7590. It's a 5 megapixel camera. It has a generally, I won't say wide angle, it just has a standard 35. I think it's almost a 40 millimeter wide angle, which is a wide angle at all lens. It is a nice Schneider Cruise-Knock lens though. It's fairly sharp for the sensor it uses, which is of course a small convex sensor. It has a metal tripod mount located right here. That little rascal, of course, is off center, but I don't really use a tripod on this camera much, so I don't really care. Uses a lithium-ion battery. Ergonomics are spot on because it's a Kodak. Has a nice electronic viewfinder in the back. It has its command dial in the back, which is unusual. Kodak did this for a while. Instead of having it on the top plate next to the shutter release, they put it on the back, which I guess it works. I prefer them on the top personally. It looks a little bit more spiffy in my opinion, but I wasn't the designer. Overall, I think it's a great camera. It also has a nice mode dial or adjustment dial up on the front, like more professional camera systems did and still do today. Overall, I'd say this camera is pretty nice. I especially like the way it renders monochrome imagery. In an effort to showcase the capabilities of the Kodak DX-7590, I'm going to capture 3 different images today. One is going to be like a wide angle landscape image. Number 2 is going to be a close-up or macro image. And number 3 is going to be what you could say is a telephoto or zoomed in image of a landscape. Let's get started. For my first composition, in front of me, I'm going to photograph this beautiful decaying dead branch in front of me, creating reflection in the foreground water. And in the midground you have the rushes and the grasses and some sand with some organic lines leading towards the background where you see the white pines off on the peninsula where the entrance to the pond is located. Alright, so I've located my second composition, which is going to be a close-up of something or another. And this something or another, in this case, is some emergent vegetation that's near the shoreline of this section of Petobego Pond. Now the trick is to get this rascal to turn on. It's a little stubborn sometimes. And of course it probably won't this time. Come on, you. And again, as with other Kodak cameras or any other old cameras, sometimes things don't work the way they should. Alright, I got it working now. I had to take the battery out and reset every function, which of course isn't very convenient. I think the cold has something to do with the way these Kodaks work or something. Either way, it's still worth it though. I adjust my aperture. I'm gonna open it up as much as I can. And then of course give her the old zoomy woomy. And I'm gonna zoom in a little bit to compress, which is how macro works on this baby. And then alright, so I will admit that last image wasn't quite what you would call macro, but I like it nonetheless, and that's all that matters as a photographer. To conclude this video today, I'm going to be heading off to a third spot to photograph a telephoto image of a landscape. And I think I have my location set up in my mind's eye, but I just need to get there. And as I said, photography should first of all be for the photographer, not for everyone else. Photography is so subjective. Everyone has a different aesthetic. Judging photography and images is kind of a tough thing because what someone might like, someone else could absolutely despise or think has no special meaning. An image is first something that a person captures and it has special meaning to them, and that's what should matter first of all. Anyway, I think I'm almost to my spot, not too far off from the other location. I just need to get this just right so I can frame the clouds that I want, which I will also admit are not quite as epic as I had hoped they'd be today, but that's what happens with landscape photography. It's never what you think. For my last image today, my focus is going to be on that aforementioned section of white pine that is strutting out at the peninsula right over yonder. My finger's pointing. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible at this. Right there. I'm going to use a telephoto zoom right into that area, those rascals. Now, this camera, I believe, was a 2005 release, and in 2005, and pardon me if I'm wrong on this release date, some digital cameras such as this Kodak did not feature any sort of image stabilization or vibration reduction or shake reduction or whatever the company wanted to call it. Unlike some of the others, like the Panasonic FC series had excellent vibration reduction built in at this time. So what I'm going to do then, if I can even get this to work, I'm going to skip and hop over to my ISO and I'm going to jump that up to probably about 200 because I don't trust this lens at long distance in this overcast weather. And then I'm also going to go back to my aperture and I'm going to put that as wide as I can. And here we go. so there's an overview of Petobego Natural Area and the Kodak DX-7590. Hopefully you've learned something new today. And if you haven't, that's okay. Maybe you got a chuckle out of my silliness or my bad luck with Kodak cameras in the cold. You might be thinking, why does he bother with Kodaks when it gets cold? It always happens to him. It probably does, but that's okay. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thank you for joining me and spending some time watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you haven't already. Please subscribe to my channel. Share these videos with friends and family. And of course, until next time, I'm going to change it up. You ready for this? Make the ordinary extraordinary.